Welcome back, friends. We have Dr. Linn back on deck for another episode to go over everything thyroid and a very special Kids Corner today. Let's go. This is another We Back episode because you were the very first guest we had, and we are so excited to get to do a deep dive again. So to announce that, the great Chance the Rapper says we back.
We back. And we back. And we back. And we back. And we back.
Yes, what fun. I'm glad to be back here today. Thank you so much. I know you couldn't get enough of me last time. Or you can't get any people to join your show. I'm not really sure what that is, but thanks for inviting me back again.
Girl, that's not how this plays at all. This is a very hand-selected elite group without question, and you're always near the top of the list. The key thing is we actually have something fun going on here because drink-wise, I've actually been craving a great margarita ever since you went skinny margarita last time. Yeah. There was no question I wanted a real margarita. So this is an incredible recipe that Cassie puts together, shared it on our TikTok. It's on all our stories, but this is the best top shelf golden margarita I think there is on the planet. It is ridiculous.
Some good recipes. I bet.
She's killing
Her recipes are always phenomenal.
Killing it with that. So this is my favorite. What do you have in the cutesy little handy thing you got there? What is that?
This is an infinity gauntlet. Thank you very much. This is Boy Mom 101 over here. I've watched every Avenger movie, and we'll train you up. I know you're a girl dad, but it's okay. They like Avengers too, especially that Thor guy. You just wait.
Yeah, I just thought the Thanos glove would be like 5 times bigger than that. So it's like a cutesy thingy.
I have all these infinity stones. I could make you disappear like that. If I could.
Okay. All right.
But I actually have a Moscow Mule, and I love a Moscow Mule, but I made a peach Moscow Mule. I have a real Georgia peach chopped up down in that thing, and I've got my Pickers vodka, local Nashville vodka. So if you need some good vodka, Pickers makes a really good Nashville, Tennessee vodka, and a Moscow Mule with some Georgia peach down in there. This is one of my faves. Yeah.
So my only beef with a ginger beer is it's so it's a very dominant flavor. So when you say peach, does that mean the peach takes away from that dominance, or what does it do? Does it balance it out more?
Adds a little touch. You can pretty much add any fruit to a Moscow Mule, and they're gonna call it something special. But yeah, any fruit to a Moscow Mule, and it just gives it takes a little bit of that acidity away and adds that sweetness that you're gonna get a perfect combination. Because you add that lime juice to it anyway, so you got 2 very acidic beverages: the lime juice, the ginger beer, which is non-alcoholic, by the way. Add a little bit of vodka and throw any fruit you want in there. It's a great summertime drink. It's supposed to be out of a copper mug. I don't have a copper mug. I have an infinity gauntlet.
No, that's cool. You brought up that it's non-alcoholic, by the way, as if there's some shaming on this show about 2 alcohols in a drink. And that is definitely not a thing.
No, but I think it's funny that people are like, oh, ginger beer. But I mean, there probably is an alcoholic ginger beer out there, but usually Moscow Mule's made with a root beer is non-alcoholic ginger beer.
Yeah. To me, it does just sound terrible, though. Unfortunately, like ginger beer, like if you have ginger, that's ginger. And then ginger plus beer, like root beer sounds delicious because we know what that is. The ginger beer thing's just not, I don't know. But man, there is a huge following. There's a huge following for ginger beer.
Yeah. But ginger's a very specific taste. You really have to like ginger because a true ginger beer is that real ginger flavor. It is not for the lighthearted.
Yeah, the one that I can remember having at a buddy's diaper party, it did not taste a lot ginger to me. It just tasted a lot. Like, oh God, what is that?
Yeah. Well, you probably weren't sure what you were drinking. And why were you drinking out of diapers? I'm confused.
That is not how that works, Dawn. That is not how that works at all. It's not how that works. That's just not what happens at the male version of a... What would you call it?
I'm not really sure what happens with diapers at a male party.
Hey, we played a lot of basketball. It was a good time. It was a lot of celebration. It was good. So we always cheers to charity. And I want to announce that you are once again giving to Live Love Nashville. Would you give a brief shout out for me?
Oh my gosh, what a great organization. I mean, to have an organization raise money for other organizations just for the sake of being that go-to source, so great. So lately, what have they been doing? Oh, the water bottles. Like Nashville Rescue Mission needed water bottles. So did you know you put out a little, hey, Live Love Nashville fans, need some water bottles? Like 15,000 water bottles. It was crazy. I mean, that is so beautiful that one person just has that heart and desire. So to support somebody who supports others, because you're looking at, we're supporting her, she's supporting the National Rescue Mission, who's supporting our homeless community. I mean, that's the whole definition of pay it forward. So it's really cool.
Absolutely love it. And we are super pumped that Active Spine and Joint Center will match that donation this week. Active Spine and Joint Center, known in the community for being one of the go-tos for tendon pain, muscle, joint, nerve, or disc pain. Please check out Active Spine and Joint Center if you have any pain-related complaints. Dawn?
Definitely my go-to. Yeah.
Hey, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it.
I'm still waiting on my Nashville shirt. Let's just.
We do need to reach out to her. Yeah, at this point.
My EKG shirt.
Yeah, I don't even know if she's done another run, but she's got to do another run. That was their best shirt for sure. We're gonna make that happen.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today we have a deep dive coming. So I think it's time to jump in. We're gonna cover everything thyroid, and I couldn't think of who else better than the Dr. Dawn Linn to cover thyroid. So if you could please, ma'am, show off the incredible shirt you have, because that camera is not quite hitting as well as it should.
No, it's not really getting it. But let me just show you. This is my shirt here that I'm wearing. What is that? Can you read that for your audience?
That definitely says it's not your thyroid.
It's not your thyroid, with an exclamation point.
And that's a bold statement.
It is a bold statement. It's gotten me in trouble a few times, actually, but it is the poor little thyroid. It was a gift actually from a nurse practitioner student who got to hear me repeat my spiel over and over. And I have a spiel because one of my top, as a family physician, one of my top complaints from my patients is, can you guess what it is?
I'm going to guess that they're going to say something along the lines of they feel like their thyroid is low because they're run down, they're beat up, and they're gaining weight. That's my guess.
Tired. So fatigue. Fatigue is in my top 3 complaints from everybody who comes to the door. Everybody's tired. I'm tired. I can't lose weight. I'm not, I just don't know what's happened to me and just don't feel like myself. And it's automatic. Can you check my thyroid? Well, sure, I could check your thyroid. I can also check a lot of things. So let's reel it back first. So that's where we have to start.
And that's where I want you to start. So let's think it through. So number one, if somebody throws into Google, I'm run down, I'm exhausted, fatigued, one of the number one things that's going to come up on that page every time is there's going to be some thyroid related complaint or a blog or forum referencing their thyroid. So what I would love for you to do is start from the beginning. Why would the thyroid be the culprit? Let's tell the story that's being told. What's the argument that's being made when they say, oh my gosh, I have a very underactive thyroid? And the reason I asked that, we had one of the great nutrition experts, this multi-time Harvard cited Dr. David Seaman, in this realm of nutrition component and inflammation component. And one of the things he was talking about is he went after the thyroid with a good couple of sentences. And I just knew we had to get Dr. Linn to elaborate on this. But he said basically the same thing. You hear that complaint all the time. But is it really your thyroid? Or, do you actually have a diagnosed condition? Or is it something else? Could it be bigger, health-oriented and lifestyle-oriented? So can you take us just from the top? What's the argument that they're making when they say, all right, I think it's my thyroid?
Yeah. And I think that's absolutely true. Everything you're saying is true. And if, just to go back even a little bit more, is I'm an osteopathic physician. A lot of people are like, what did she say? What was that? As an osteopathic physician is trained a little bit differently from an allopathic physician, which is an MD, and I'm a DO. We're trained similarly in some of the similar manipulations and techniques that chiropractors are trained in, which is why you and I meld so well together, because we just have that ability to work off of each other and work through the whole body as a system whole. And so that is where we're trained. So an osteopathic physician is trained as, let's look at the whole picture. Now, patient comes in and it's like, here's my problem, here's my complaint, fix it simply. They want that simple, quick answer. And everybody wants to blame the poor little thyroid. The thyroid is actually a tiny little gland. It's right in here. It's tiny. It's back in here. And it is, even though it's small, it's super responsible. It has a lot of big responsibilities. It's part of the hypothalamus pituitary thyroid axis, which I know is a lot of blah, 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 but basically it's these organs in the body that read off of each other and feed each other. And ultimately, simply to say, the thyroid is responsible for a lot of the hormones that are produced in the body. We're not talking like when people think hormones, they think estrogen, testosterone. Sure, those are very important hormones, but lots of other hormones within the body that thyroid's responsible for. So people automatically assume that if things aren't working well, then the thyroid must not be working well, because it does keep everything regulated. It keeps the body regulated to a degree, not by itself, but along with conjunction with everything else, like I mentioned.
Everyone in the comments, if you have any questions or you've ever heard of somebody to have a thyroid issue or claim that they do, I would love for you to type out your experience. I think that would be really good to be able to add to this conversation, because I really want to come at it from so many angles that everyone experiences every day. And it's not as often as that we have an expert in the room to be able to ask those questions to, especially live where I've got her pinned down. She really can't go anywhere. So the good news is we can hit her with the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're stuck here until pretty much 8 a.m. until we start the next workday. So yeah, it's kind of how it goes. But basically you explained that thyroid is part of a continual checks and balances in the body as far as hormones are related. And there's a lot of interactions that it'll make based off of other parts of the body and other systems. So when someone claims that they have a feeling or suspicion, they want their thyroid checked, let's say you do several tests for the thyroid, and they do come back as elevated, okay? Or it does send off a marker that, hey, there is some kind of thyroid marker occurring. Talk us through how to look at that more from a big picture, if that makes sense. Because as individuals, we think so much, hey, there's a problem. Oh, cool, there's a test for it. Awesome. Now I can correct that, and that fixes everything. They may not necessarily understand all the inner workings, but can you at least shine some light on that? I'm going to get that tested. What are a few of the things that we'll look for? And then what are some big contributors so we can understand that?
So interesting. The thyroid actually doesn't have a direct measurement in the labs. But if you're a good physician, you are not treating a lab level. You're treating a patient, which can work two different ways. But the thyroid does not have a direct measurement. So what we typically look for is the thyroid being stimulated to do its job? So that is called a TSH level, the thyroid stimulating hormone. Is the thyroid being stimulated? So simply put, I have a certain level of thyroid hormones that are supposed to be in the body. If that level is not right, something in that hypothalamus pituitary axis tells the thyroid, hey, there's not enough of your guys out there, send some more to work. And so the thyroid stimulating hormone goes, oh, y'all get to work. And so it shoves up, it goes up in the levels. There's not enough guys at work. It needs more guys to work. So it's going, hey, get to work. So the thyroid stimulating hormone goes up. If there's too many guys working, back in that axis goes, hey, you need to call some of those guys in. Stop sending them out. So the thyroid stimulating hormone goes down so that it stops producing so many little worker bees out there. Now, there's other levels that we measure of the thyroid. They're all kind of an indirect level, though. There's different components of the thyroid. We don't need to get into all of it necessarily, but to be told, the simple tests that look at whether or not it's over or under producing is not a direct measurement, but an indirect measurement. And so that gives us an idea. So if there's not enough out there, your level will be high. It's very counterintuitive. But then that tells us, hey, it's not really working as well as it should. So perhaps you have the symptoms, which are fatigue, constipation, rundown, dry skin, dry eyes, just overall just not feeling like you're functioning. Because like I said, it's a hormone that helps with function. If it's overstimulated, which causes you to have a low TSH, then you have heart palpitations, you have fluttering, you might have nausea, you might have diarrhea, you can get bug eyes because you're just so much of it is out there. So that is a whole nother conversation on the mistreatment of thyroid that can come from that. So So there are symptoms that do fit into the hypothyroid picture. Hypothyroid meaning not enough in the body. And that's what people come in for. And that's the most common, especially in women. It's very common for women to be diagnosed, particularly in their 30s and 40s, which happens to be the ages that we gain weight, stop exercising as much, are busy moms. And so when people come in and they say, "Oh, I'm so tired and I am just not functioning and it's got to be my thyroid," I have a whole spiel. That's basically how it. So Moscow Mule.
Yeah, I think that's really good. We also had Alec in the comments said that he absolutely loved that, and that you highlighted, really, if you're a good physician, you're treating the patient and you're taking in all that information from the lab, but you're treating the patient. You're not treating the direct lab. Do you think that's part of it, that sometimes a provider may get myopic to the lab result? Is that maybe one of the ways that happens? Because I do sympathize with those mid 30s, being a mid 30s and having two kids and knowing what it's like having all these different things and all those different pressures. I definitely feel it. And I only feel it from the male side. So there is no question I can sympathize and understand. Oh my God, all the things that are on you in the mid 30s, that is a wild decade that I wasn't prepared for. But as we're there, that we can get to that moment and we're actually sending out that beacon for help. Like, just give me some guidance on where to go. And
Sure.
then, it could be something as simple as, it's my thyroid. Cool. I can get that corrected. And then all this struggles with getting kids where they need to go, managing the scenarios, not having time to even wash my hair. All that's just going to magically self-correct, right? I mean, I can imagine that being reality very easily. Can you just deep dive that a little bit? Could it be that certain providers are really chasing that quick lab? Is it maybe patient pressure? What are some of the factors that would deal with so many making this? I'm not saying it's an epidemic and it's that big, but in that small patient population, it almost is, because they're coming in complaining of it and begging for that because they're feeling that, and then it's everywhere on Google.
Well, like you said, if I could just take one medication, which is, I'm pretty sure you said this, so hopefully everybody's calling you for this, and you can make my life work better. I mean, let's do that. If you can get my kids organized for school, hey. To be honest, though, people are lazy in general. Raise your hand if you're lazy, okay? All of us are. We all are. And because we like it simple, we like things to just fall into place. Who wouldn't want that? But the truth is, I always go through these. To answer your question, yes. Yes. People do tend to want to do several things. They want to please patients. They want to give them the answer they want. They want to give them exactly the needs that they want to make it better. And sometimes they just, focus in on that instead of like, let's take a step back. And as a physician, I say, hey, let's talk about certain things in your life. It could be your thyroid. I don't discredit people immediately and go, boom, it's not your thyroid. No, that's silly. That you should never discredit a patient for how they feel. You should work with them, though, to make sure that where they're going is where we need to go together. Because ultimately, they didn't go to medical school. I did. I went to medical school. They're thinking of this small box. I have a huge box out here that I've got to pick and choose from to make sure that it works. So they might only know of this one thing because, hey, my sister's cousin's babysitter's daughter's boyfriend's aunt has this problem that sounds like me. So that's great, but we need to dive into it more. So I always ask certain questions when I say, then they're like, okay, I'm just tired and run down. I say, okay, listen, how much sleep are you getting? And they're like, I mean, about 6 maybe hours ish. I wake up. How much exercise are you getting? I mean, I try to get out there. I mean, I'm active all day long. Okay, well, that never got anybody to the Olympics. And then I say, let's talk about your diet. Are you eating a plant-based diet? Are you eating late at night? Are you eating all day long? Do you have a heavy carbohydrate load? And I say, yes, we can check your thyroid. I can check your vitamin levels. I can check levels all day. I got labs galore. But let's really look at what the body does and how to help the body improve its function. And then I want you to come back and tell me how tired you are. Because if we can get you to sleep, we can get your nutrition on point, and we can get you moving the way that God intended for your body to function, you're not going to come back and tell me you're tired anymore. You're going to say, I've got all this energy. I'm renewed. I feel great. Yes, it could be your thyroid, but most of the time, it's not your thyroid, okay? It's the way we live. It's how we function. It's what we're doing to ourselves.
I think from now on, everyone who comes on the show has to wear a shirt with whatever punchline they want to deliver. And they have to do a perfect squat, stand up, and just scream it in the camera, because that was definitely going to be a short clip. There's no doubt. That was incredible. That was incredible.
Well, I mean, it's disheartening because I want to help patients. I really,
Sure.
obviously, that's my desire. I'm not. You don't go into family physicianing for any other reason than to just be that go-to person for your family and your patients' families. So, but we have to we would be remiss as physicians if we did not step back and say, hey, it's the same thing as if somebody comes to you guys and they've got pain emanating from their neck and it goes down into their arm, and you didn't stop and go, hey, let's talk about what's going on in your life with your stress levels. Let's talk about how are you sleeping? If you guys didn't do that, you would be totally remiss in your job. So you can't ever just pinpoint a symptom and then just go, oh, this must be what it is. And unfortunately, I can tell you that happens. I have seen people. I had a woman come to me, bless her. She came to me with over 30 different medications and supplements, mostly supplements.
Oh, poor thing.
Before anybody gets on here and starts dogging me because I said something about supplements, I'm not saying that. Literally over 30. And she's talking to me about how bad she feels and how full she feels. And she just feels terrible. And I said, you know what we should do? We should stop all this. And in 2 weeks, come back and see me and let's see how you feel. And guess what? She felt amazing. It was just, we can pile on so many things until we get to the point where we're hurting ourselves instead of helping ourselves. And it works that way with the thyroid. I know specifically, unfortunately, there's somebody in our town who treats the symptoms regardless of the labs. And that puts people at dangerous risk. So that's a whole nother component, that you can't just treat the symptoms without understanding the labs just the same.
Yeah. And I think the other piece of that that's got to be massively valuable is having that continual relationship too, to be able to track that over time. I feel like, I don't want to misspeak for certain clinics or advertisements that I've seen, but it's been proposed or at least explained by several patients that it's almost, well, cool, you go to this one evaluation, you're going to get these medications, and then that's pretty much it. Like, you're going to be good to go. And that seemed very disconcerting from any level of critical thinking or patient care, because there's just no way to track over time in a one-off visit. So I think that is something that has got to be a massive component to it, that I guess sometimes is just lost maybe in the communication. I'm not too sure.
Establishment of a primary care physician is super important. You have to have a healthcare team. When you don't have somebody who truly knows you, I mean, Jason, I can tell you the number of times on any given day when somebody comes in and maybe they're there for their blood pressure check or just whatever the case may be. And I will stop and say, know what's really going on. And there's something underlying, because I know them so well that I can tell their demeanor's different. They're handling themselves differently. Their blood pressure is fine. We got that. But let's talk about what's really, and then there's something underlying, and that there's nothing like that relationship that you have with a physician and a patient where they can know, and my patients know when I'm not well, they know me too. And that's important to me. They need to know that I'm a human and that I'm dealing with things, and we're in this together though. This just goes right back to that team effort. I mean, there's not a time that I don't send you somebody or your team somebody, and you guys aren't contacting me and saying, hey, I think maybe we need to delve into even this medical component a little bit more. If there's something emotional or stressful going on, that's all going to relay into what's happening. And so you can't just say, oh, it's my thyroid because I'm tired. Well, gosh, if that's the case, we're all going on thyroid meds, and that's not how it works.
Yeah. I think that is a big challenge, because when you're stuck in it, your mid-30s, you go through a pandemic, you try to figure it out, things get overwhelming really fast, and then all of a sudden you realize it's been 3 months and things have not went how you wanted. There was that, I can't remember the group that did it, but it's been making all the rounds on the social media articles. But I think it was Weight Watchers that did it. They polled 2,000 people and found that on average that people have gained 16 pounds already.
Yeah.
And that was on average. And that is a big component, because what does that mean? I think in a short time window like that, that just speaks to the unease, the chasing some type of comfort, it's just coping, and it's not great coping. And what makes that such a challenge is that what people don't realize is that when we talked last time about habits, and if you can change that routine, the power in that. I was listening to one of my mentors. He was on a podcast recently. His name's Greg Rose. And one of the best things that he had talked about was the idea that we sometimes lose sight that even once we get active, how we feel, and when we start feeling better, maybe we're not our best, and maybe we do need a little bit of treatment to get where we need to get. But once you get there and you feel that good movement again, that's addictive. So now you start to feel that balancing of those natural hormones through exercise, through balancing your lifestyle. Now you get tired more. Now you're not as overwhelmed to let your mind race about some of those complex issues. All of a sudden, you're starting to see more clarity. Now you sleep more. All of a sudden, a lot of these things can start to balance back out. And that paired with following up with your physician, making sure that things are going well, unbelievable things can happen. But I think the addictive side of getting moving well, because how good that can feel, is lost on so many people. And I think that's been a massive loss in the last 3 months, that people have shifted so far away from that, even though certain sections are coping well doing that, but a lot are just really trying to figure it out. And I think they've missed that piece, that even once you get going well, it's hard to get in motion again. But once you get there and you make that a habit, that becomes addictive. You crave feeling that good. And I think that's something it's really important right now.
I think you're exactly right. We touched on it the last time I was on here with you about just people are paralyzed and frozen. And it's a very insecure, uneasy time. I'm not discrediting it in any way. For the first few weeks of this pandemic, as a physician, I did not sleep for 2 weeks. I remember I would get 3 and 4 hours of sleep at night. I was reading and studying and talking to my physician friends and just trying to absorb as much as possible to do what was right for my patients and to understand where we are. I was also on this high of being a physician. I'm in charge and I'm responsible, and I've got to know these things. And this is exciting. That's a terrible thing to say, but you get it. I'm a physician. I'm a scientist.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
But it's important what you just said too, to go back. Now people really are starting to move again. I'm seeing the movement. They're recognizing, okay, no, we do not need to take a break and ease off people, but we do need to recognize it's okay to do our own habits and be good to ourselves. We're starting to move again, and that weight gain is no joke. I'm seeing it big time we call it the COVID-19 instead of the freshman 15. You're gaining those pandemic pounds, but that was from the inability to just move, that feeling of paralysis. And so now I'm seeing people move more because it's summertime, and that's great. And then you brought up a great point, checking back in with their physician, because people have stopped coming to their visits. They've just, they're afraid. We are seeing patients again. We're open. We're doing our jobs. We're being very cautious, of course, but it's important to not miss your checkups. Don't miss your physical exams. Don't miss your kids' physicals. Please don't miss your kids' physicals, your immunizations. But also because exercise and nutrition actually do play a role in how the thyroid functions. So there are people who maybe they exercise excessively, and so their hormone levels get imbalanced, or maybe they don't, when you start to exercise, your hormones can get rebalanced in a lot of ways. You might be a little sluggish in the thyroid and in your hormones. And so then exercise can make an impact. So you do need to check in with your physician to make sure that if you even had some initial level that were a little off, number one, never treat the first lab level ever. Always go back. And if you're not with a physician who checks a second time to make sure things are where they're supposed to be, then don't just go with the first level. You've got to do some more investigation. But sometimes what you're doing with your nutrition and your exercise can play a role in the impact that it has on your in your body. So that's really important thing that you said.
What can we do for patients that have went through pretty much what you just explained? So maybe the weight gain has crept up on them 10, 15 pounds. They haven't been, and they've missed their physical by 3 months. And now they almost feel so bad about facing their provider again. They just say, nah, just not going back. How can we bridge that, right? Because they almost feel not necessarily embarrassed or ashamed. Those aren't the right words, but there's just
No.
enough cringe factor where they're like, I have to admit, I've really screwed this up. This isn't what I wanted to do. I'm not feeling my best. I don't want to overreact, but I also don't want to get shamed that I'm going. Do you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of that right now.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with your relationship, again, with your physician. I mean,
Yeah.
if you know how they're going to treat you and how they're going to respect you when you're there with them, that's different. You should never go to a physician who makes you feel like less of a human.
Boom.
I put on a few pounds myself. We've gone through this. You and I've talked a lot about our exercise training that we've been doing and our walking that we've been trying to get across this entire state of Tennessee. And it's been really a challenge, even though we had some time off, and we were just still, but it's hard to do. So I think that, knowing that showing grace is super important. As a physician, it's important that I show them grace. I'm going through what they're going through. So not being able to, afraid to say as a physician, I'm going through stuff too. I'm going through it with you. I've gained a few pounds too. I've just, we all been baking our bread and comfort eating and spending time with family. So what I try to do is I try to point out the silver lining. You know what? So what? You gained a few pounds and but your family's healthy. What I've seen is so important in that we're spending more time with our family. We're not rushing to the ball field. We're not rushing to all these events in the evenings. We actually have time to sit together at the table. So you know what? Maybe you're
Yeah.
gaining a few pounds because we are at home more with our family, really spending that quality time. So I think that's okay to just show them some grace and to recognize, hey, and just tell them if patients feel good about being there, that they've made the right decision. I don't know what the right answer is as far as like helping them come back in, but hopefully patients know that their physician is their alibi and not their enemy.
Absolutely. In this time, we really spent a lot of time perfecting our pizza game, and I'm very proud of that, but I was not proud of the weight gain that came along with it because we had to test every pie, even if it was bad. That was something that was high on the priority list. Yeah. We're like, oh, there's no bad pizza. And then we realized now that we've had really good pizza and Cassie's perfected the dough, there was a lot of bad pizza in there, but I ate it all the same.
That's true. And then there's this Facebook page out here called Eat Hendersonville.
Oh, it's awesome.
And dang Mario, I'm so upset with him because it's a horrible page because all I want to do is support local restaurants and try them all.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, we should go. We did that today in my office for lunch. We went on the Eat Hendersonville Facebook page. We're like, which one are we going to try?
Where'd you go?
We went to Don Miguel's Juicery.
Oh.
It is, you've never, come on now.
Listen, I'm new to the city. I've only been here 35 years. I'm new. I don't know. Like,
I'm telling you though, on this Facebook page, this is a segue, but I've never heard of the majority of these restaurants, and I'm super excited that it's there because I want to try them all. I've tried so many new places in the last 3 months, and that's part of my weight gain because I'm supporting local. Isn't that a good thing?
Well, here's what I'll say. In the last week, there's been a lot of posts on that page, on Eat Hendersville, on Mauricio's page, about Yokohama. And Yokohama is like my pastime. I mean, I grew up smashing some Yokohama. Yum Yum sauce, getting chicken and steak, half of each, my little ginger salad, and just loving the heck out of it. We'd go to karate class, we'd finish up, especially on Saturdays, then we go to lunch at Yokohama. And it's like, I'm not ashamed that I love Yokohama. It's been one of my favorite places ever, and it should be always popping and packed, but it never is. And then they put a post on there like, ooh, like they didn't get the PPP. They didn't get the funding. They really are struggling. And everybody's like, we're going. And I was like, oh, don't start me on my everyday habit again, because that was a long time. I mean, I like the extra rice. I like all of it. I love me some Eat Hendersonville.
Thank God for Mauricio, because seriously, I think I called him Mario. Sorry, Mauricio. I do know you, but he's just such a cool dude and just wants to really love on his community. And I love that. You need to have him on here. I mean, we could call him Dr. Running or something, but
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Maybe, but he's so involved with this community. He just wants everybody to be well and to be healthy and to be happy and just to be a loving, close community. So what a cool page he's done. So yeah, back to it again, but we are supporting local. We are eating more. We're eating more family. So we're gaining a few pounds, but I think people are recognizing it's okay. We're going to get back into it again, and we're moving again. So I think that I'm seeing on the other end of my visits lately have been people who wanted to get back, and I have had my physical coming back in. My regulars are coming back in. So they're slowly but surely reintroducing themselves. Yeah.
No, that's
so hopefully
good.
You guys are too.
Yeah, It's up and down. Like last week we had it was really funny when we were off air. We had Dr. Alec on, and he had said, yeah, this was knee week because we had like 8 new referrals for knee pain.
They're
It was
back
just
at it.
a ton of knee because people are getting back at it. And so it felt, it was like, hey, it's on the upswing. You know, people are starting to get active again, and that makes us feel good. And then we want to keep them active without being in pain. That's something that's really important to us. One thing that I really like that you said is, you know, families are seeing a little bit of the silver lining and they're spending more time with their family. But my household, I have 2 young girls. You have 4 kiddos. What has been a couple things for our kids corner tonight that you've seen with your kids, and maybe just the last couple months, maybe a couple, 1 or 2 of the struggles, or 1 of the 2 big things that you've seen that have been good? Because I think we have the full gambit in our household. We have some good, we have some like, oh my gosh, I think we got it all.
You know, and I think that I'm really glad you brought that up. It's important that people not forget that their kids are just as involved right now. They missed out on, you know, the end of the school year. We know that this year's kids are going to have a really difficult time, missing out on a lot of school again. They need to know what's going on to a degree. I can honestly tell you that my kids know that coronavirus exists, but they don't understand it because I turn off the television. They don't watch the news with me. So if I can just give one big piece of advice, if nobody listens to anything else, the number one thing we've been telling our patients is turn off your television. Just turn it off. I mean, you know, watch cool stuff like this. Watch HGTV or DIY, which, by the way, people have been watching because wood is sold out at your Home Depot and Lowe's stores. I guess everybody's renovating. So they're going to come see you soon for their back issues where they've been doing all this extra work. But just the kiddos are really feeling it. They've had the longest summer of their lives. My 11-year-old is the most sensitive, sweetest heart. He has so much compassion. He wears it on his sleeve. He hurts when you hurt. If he heard that you stubbed your toe, he would be so sympathetic towards you. So his sympathy for all of this has been really at a high level. And so he's very, and that's another reason I have to shield him a little bit because he takes it in and absorbs it and holds on to it. And so his little heart breaks. So he is getting to a point where I can see his demeanor change a little bit, that he's not as just bubbly as he was. He's a little bit depressed, and depression is real in kids. They just don't exhibit it the same as adults do. So, and he's not, you know, to the point of necessarily, and I'm not opposed to getting him treated or seen if we needed to, but his depression stems from his lack of social activity. So we've really worked on finding those few people who we know have been super cautious and super aware, and really tried to make sure he stays connected, even if it's on electronics, you know, playing on his video games, FaceTiming. He spent some time with some buddies, but he wants to see his group of friends, his school friends. He's been with the same friends since kindergarten, and so we miss our school. And I am. This is not a school debate. This is just to say we miss them. And regardless of what we're going to do, I'm going to do my best to make sure that he knows that they miss him. And the teachers have been incredible. So he just needs some interaction, and the kids need interaction. So we've really tried to, I tried to take them out for walks in the public, like maybe over to Drake's Creek or down over to Memorial Park, you know, and of course staying, you know, in our distance, but those that he can see the public. So much being at home, but we've been out just seeing that the public's out there. So he at least feels a little bit more involved. But you know, kids, it's hard. They need their friends. So there's not a good answer. We can't just throw them back into 50 of their best friends all right now. That's not the right answer necessarily. I don't know what the right answer is. I just know that as parents, we have to be acutely aware that they feel that same sadness about life being different. And so, fortunately, the almost 2-year-old doesn't. She doesn't have a clue, but she loves us home all the time. But the boys do. My 3 boys do. And so trying to find ways for them to interact with their buddies has been a real challenge, but it's something that we as parents have to remember. It's not just about how our lives have changed, but it really does affect them.
Yeah. I wanted a brief shout out Dr. Kippenberger for joining the show for a little bit. Dr. Ethan had commented that he loves the acai bowls from your Don Miguel's place.
Miguel's.
Yeah, he said they're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he's in. For our girls, the hardest part's been there was that window of about 8-9 weeks where we completely split our office into an A team and a B team in case an outbreak occurred, to where we could then clean the clinic fully, have it treated, and then flip teams. And in that window, their daycare was also closed.
Oh yeah.
So when they couldn't go there, I mean, we saw our oldest, who's very outgoing. You know Amlin pretty well.
Yeah.
And she was a mess. I mean, she was showing all those signs of, I need attention now. And sometimes we were enough, but a lot of times we weren't enough. And that challenge was massively daunting, because there was like, what are we going to do? So I saw it in my wife's face. She's like, I literally don't know what else to do. We're giving her everything we have, but we're also, both members of the family have to work to support the household, to help support the business. Like, those are crucial roles that are non-negotiable. So we've got to find the best way to juggle that. Like, it's not an option like so many are saying, hey, they're going to homeschool their kids in perpetuity now. And that's super awesome for those that are able to do it. For those that can't, it is a little bit more of a struggle. But their daycare did open back up, and they've been doing an unbelievable job since they've been open. But we watched our daughter grow so fast again, maturity level. We were like, who are you? 2 weeks later, just the leaps and bounds growing again. It was like, that's our daughter. Like, that's who we expected. So I completely empathize with like the story of your son, who isn't that age where that's not to say it's an easy answer, but it's the answer that's open to us right now. Like, that's a struggle for that age group, because I remember picking on all my buddies at that phase. Like, that was a time where, we were hitting each other with all kinds of things and playing in the neighborhood and riding bikes to each other's house. So that's got to be just so much different. Every age gap, you can see how that can be a struggle.
Well, I mean, even look at us though. I mean, my elderly patients, my office tried to call on a lot of our single, alone elderly patients during this time to make sure that, especially the ones who live in assisted living facilities who can't have visitors, or the ones who are alone, their families are far away, or their families didn't want to take a risk to infect them. So, that loneliness is real at any age. And I think that kids forget about that. I mean, adults forget about that in kids, because there's, kids are just, they don't have ulterior motives. Kids want to be happy and fun, and they want to have a great time regardless. And, so we have to remember that they are affected in a negative way by the isolation. And so, and just like you and I are very social people, obviously, we're very much extroverted. We love and thrive on people around us. We really respect, we really get into that. And so we have to recognize how our kids interact. So, we've given them a little bit more time maybe to play games online with their friends. But we've also involved them in like, what's some family activities that we can do? What do y'all want to do with us? And we started taking nightly walks with my kids, like every night after dinner, and to the point where they ask for it. It's like, are we going on our walk tonight? Are we going to do that? And that, to me, it's not just about their friends, but it's also about that reconnecting as a family and making sure that they know that we are their core and that we are part of who they are too. So it has been huge. It's been so sweet. And, and they're still mama's boys, 8 and 11, for my two in the middle. And they, want to hold my hand or walk next to me or to ask me about my day. And they're, and so that's important to teach them how to be good adults even. So that's why I say there's a silver lining in all of this, that we, hopefully adults are taking the time to say, hey, my kids need not just their friends, obviously, but they need me. They need this 2-parent working household. They need me. Just like with you and Cass, to have to make sure. I mean, all those pizzas you guys made, y'all weren't doing that by yourselves. I know Amlin and Ellie very well. I know they were right in there, tossing ingredients, spreading the cheese, doing their thing. And that is growing together. I mean, my boys and I made homemade pizzas. We made some casserole, some cookie. We've just been spending that quality time. So I think that involving your kids in the decision making of what do y'all want to do tonight? How can we spend more time together? That's huge. And it teaches them that the core family unit is super important to their growth and to their future.
Yeah. I can't wait for our next Parents Corner, because I've got 3 great topics on it. But one thing that's really funny about Amlin is her excitement for all these things. Like when we do pizzas and how they love that. One of the funny things right now, they're actually watching on Cassie's screen right now, and they're waving to both of us, and that's always really cute. But Amlin's big thing is, like when she loves something, she just loves it, and she wants everybody to know how much they love it. And they're that phase where they're growing so much, they're aware more, they want your attention, they want to do good, they want to learn more. And that's where I think we've just got to keep doing, the best job we can and invest in them the best we can, because they're just sponges and they learn so fast. It's really
But
funny.
they're
So the
also,
other, go
yeah,
ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say they're also sponges in the negative way. So if
Yeah.
you come home and you're stressed out and you're worried and you're anxious, because anxiety's been another big thing I've been treating, then they're gonna sponge that too, and they're gonna absorb that. They don't know why they feel that way. They don't know why you feel that way, and then they're gonna feel bad because you feel bad, and they don't know why, and they can't express it, and they may act out. So we have to recognize too, as parents, that they may not be acting out because they're bad, because kids are not bad. They make bad choices, but they all feed off of us. So if we are in a bad mood or we're negative, we are anxious, they absorb that, and then they don't know what to do with that energy, and they explode it back out. So
Yeah.
we have to recognize, how do I feel right now? What am I doing to impact them? Because we are all together
Yeah.
all the time. So we have to recognize that our energy that we bring in affects how they react.
Our 5-year-old's phase right now, she's in the, so we'll make pizza and we'll crush it. We'll make the best cheese pizza she's ever had. And she'll eat it and she'll go, Daddy, I don't like it. I double love it. Like that's her face.
Yep.
So we wants to tell you everything in your life that she doesn't like. And then every
Yes.
time there's this like heart pain, like, oh yeah, I like only made this because I wanted you to like it. And then she's like, I double love it. And I'm like, I want to
Double.
love that reaction more,
Wow.
but I actually am still sort of hurt from the like, I don't like it. Yeah.
I get that from my 8-year-old mom. I didn't like dinner at all. Oh, okay. I love, and you're right.
That joke is so funny the first time, and then it's just pain. Like, why do we keep coming back to this? But they're just like, I get a reaction every time.
Is he
Guaranteed.
serious this time? Is he serious?
Yeah,
He doesn't...
it's so funny. So funny.
They're the best. They are fun.
Dawn, cheers to you.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the heck out of the show. Can't wait to do it again. We've got so many more topics to deep dive. Thank you so much for joining the show. We'll see you soon.
Love ya. Bye.